All right, so you found something amazing on your trip,
Oh, yeah?
but you're maybe a little worried about getting it home.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we're talking about how to bring home those incredible treasures from your adventures,
Yeah.
without running into any trouble at customs.
Right.
Cultural artifacts, precious metals, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
We're diving deep today with Kim Ricks, our gemstone detective, to help us figure it all out.
It's really exciting to get to talk about this. You know it's about more than just tossing a souvenir in your suitcase, right?
Yeah.
It's about understanding the why behind all the rules.
The why.
Yeah. Each country's got its own unique heritage, and they're trying to protect it. Makes sense.
So before we even picture ourselves, I don't know, haggling in some, Moroccan market or finding a hidden gem in a Parisian antique shop,
Right.
we need to hit the book.
Exactly. Can you imagine the heartbreak of finding that perfect piece only to have it, taken away at customs?
Oh, yeah.
Researching the regulations before you even go, it can really save you a lot of stress.
And legal trouble.
Oh, for sure.
So let's get into it. You flagged 9 countries for this, right?
Yeah, I did.
So we'll start with North America, the U.S. and Canada, then hop over to the U.K. and the EU.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll explore some countries known for their strict regulations and, incredibly rich history. Egypt, China, India, and Brazil. Ready?
I am. A geographical approach is a really interesting way to look at all this.
Yeah.
You can see how different parts of the world have their own ways of protecting their heritage.
Totally. So the U.S.
Yeah.
I was going through the material, and what really stood out was just how many agencies are involved.
Oh, yeah.
Customs and Border Protection, the State Department, even the Fish and Wildlife Service.
It seems like a lot, right?
It does.
But it really shows how seriously the U.S. takes protecting its heritage, and even natural resources. It's not even just about old artifacts. Certain wildlife products like ivory or coral are under these rules too.
Really? So let's say, I picked up a coral bracelet on a beach vacation. That could be a problem.
It's possible. That's why understanding what materials are restricted is so important.
Gotcha. Okay. And Canada, they're pretty similar.
Right. Yeah, they have the Canada Border Services Agency.
Mm.
And they're also really big on having the right paperwork.
Okay.
Always good to be prepared.
Notes are being taken as we speak. All right. Across the pond now to the UK, they have this 50 years or older rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's that about?
Well, it makes sense when you think about how long the UK's been collecting antiquities.
True.
This rule really helps stop the loss of things that have, real historical value. So something vintage from the 60s, you're probably fine, but anything older, you might need to dig a little deeper, especially if it's, a true antique or a piece of art.
So if I find, a Victorian locket in a cute little antique shop,
Oh, lovely.
what kind of paperwork would I need?
You definitely need an export license from the UK.
Okay.
Just to show that you're not, part of any shady business or taking cultural treasures illegally. Yeah. Making sure everything's above board.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, Australia stood out in my research, too. They have these incredibly strict rules
Yeah.
about Aboriginal artifacts.
Right. And that's not something you usually think about.
Right.
They're really tied to Australia's history and cultural identity. The government's serious about protecting them from exploitation. Admiring them is great,
Of course.
but trying to take one home without the right paperwork, that's a no-go.
Yeah. It's not just about the rules themselves.
Right.
It's about understanding what they're trying to protect.
Exactly. The cultural significance behind it all.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We're going to Egypt now. Land of pharaohs, pyramids, and I'm guessing some pretty intense customs regulations.
Oh, absolutely. Egypt has tons of ancient treasures. Their regulations are serious. It's not just about paperwork. It's about understanding the context of what you want to take home.
Right. And you mentioned earlier that certain wildlife products can be a problem, like with the U.S. I read that even something like a scarab beetle, which seems like a harmless souvenir,
Sure.
it actually has a lot of religious meaning.
Exactly. Those objects can't be seen as just, tourist trinkets. They're so woven into Egyptian history and culture. It's about recognizing that they have a story that goes way beyond just our trip.
So it's about respecting those stories, not just following the rules, but
Yeah.
understanding why the rules exist.
Exactly. It's about being a respectful traveler and recognizing that the things we find on our adventures often have a bigger meaning.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about North America, the UK, Australia, and Egypt. I'm noticing a theme here. Do you think respect for cultural heritage is like a universal idea in customs regulations?
Definitely. It's not just about getting a cool souvenir. It's about thinking about the impact we have as travelers,
Right.
making sure that these incredible pieces of history are there for future generations too.
Being good cultural stewards, not just tourists snapping up souvenirs.
Exactly. And it makes the whole thing of bringing home treasures more meaningful, don't you think?
I agree. It's not just about owning a piece of history. It's about being a good caretaker of that history. Okay, let's keep moving eastward. Next up, China. With such a vast and rich culture, I imagine their customs regulations are incredibly detailed.
They are. China has a long history with looting and illegal export of their cultural artifacts. The
Right.
government has really stepped up to protect their heritage.
So what kind of regulations are we talking about?
Well, they have the State Administration of Cultural Heritage, and they're the ones in charge, and they don't mess around.
Okay.
They have this very complex system for classifying and controlling the export of cultural artifacts.
So say I'm in a market in Beijing and I see a really pretty antique porcelain vase.
hmm
What do I have to do to bring it home legally?
The first thing is you'd need to get an export permit from the local Cultural Relics Management Department. This permit shows that the vase isn't a national treasure and can leave the country. And you also need solid documentation showing it's authentic and where it came from.
They call that provenance, right?
Yeah, exactly. China is very careful about fake artifacts.
Wow. So it's not as simple as just getting a receipt from the shop.
No, not at all. They're serious about making sure their cultural heritage isn't disappearing,
Yeah.
going into the black market or private collections. They want these objects accessible for everyone to enjoy, not just a select few.
It makes sense keeping those pieces public so everyone can appreciate them. It's about protecting their legacy for future generations.
Right, exactly.
Now, let's talk about India. They have an ancient civilization and a really rich cultural heritage, just like China.
Right. And just like China, they have a really good system to protect it.
What I find interesting about India is the Archaeological Survey of India.
The ASI.
Yeah. It's not just customs officials, it's experts in like archaeology and art history deciding if something is important.
You got it. The ASI looks at the age, the historical value, the artistic merit of anything someone wants to export. If they think it's really important, it's probably going to stay in the country.
So it's a pretty thorough process.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say I'm in Jaipur and I come across a beautiful Mughal miniature painting. What should I do if I want to buy it and bring it home?
First, make sure you're buying from a dealer with a good reputation, someone who can give you the right paperwork. Then, talk to the ASI directly to see if that specific painting needs an export license. And be ready to give them all the details about it, like size, materials, subject matter.
What happens if the ASI says it can't leave India?
Well, then you'll have to just admire it from afar. I know it can be disappointing. But remember, these regulations are there to protect India's cultural heritage for future generations.
I get it. It's about understanding that some things are just too important for anyone to own privately. They belong to everyone. Okay, last stop on our world tour of customs regulations.
Where to?
Brazil. I'm curious about their approach because they have this amazing blend of cultures.
Yeah, Brazil is known for its vibrant art scene. And they've got strict rules about exporting cultural artifacts, just like the other countries we've been talking about.
Right. What struck me about Brazil was their organization, the Institute of National Historical and Artistic Heritage.
IPN.
Yeah. They sound pretty serious. What do they actually do?
They're like the guardians of Brazil's culture.
Yeah.
They find, protect, and preserve Brazil's historical and artistic treasures. They're the ones making sure their legacy continues.
So imagine I'm in Rio and I see a piece of indigenous art that I love. How do I know if I need IFAN's approval to take it home?
It's always best to be proactive. Reach out to IFAN before you even buy the artwork and tell them about it. They can let you know if you need an export license or not. They're really helpful, and try to find that balance. Protecting Brazil's heritage, but also letting people collect and share culture responsibly.
That's great. It sounds like they're really dedicated to finding that middle ground, preserving things, but still allowing people to enjoy these beautiful objects. We've covered a lot of ground. North America, Europe, Asia, South America. What common threads do you see in all these different customs regulations?
Well, the biggest one is documentation.
Yeah.
Whether it's an export permit, a certificate of authenticity, or proof of where something came from, paperwork is key.
Like you said before, be prepared.
Right. It's how you prove that your treasure is legal and that it can go through customs without any problem.
Documentation is king.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think it's so interesting how each country's history and values shape their customs rules. They're not just bureaucratic hurdles. They show what a country cares about and how they protect their heritage.
It's like you said earlier, it's about respecting the story behind the object,
Yeah.
understanding its place in the bigger picture of a nation's history.
Exactly.
And it really highlights that travel is more than just checking places off a list.
For sure.
It's about connecting with different cultures in a respectful and responsible way.
Absolutely. It's about understanding and appreciating the stories and histories that are woven into the places we visit.
So what's the one thing our listeners should take away from all of this?
I'd say be an informed and respectful traveler. Do your research before you go, especially if you're thinking about bringing home cultural artifacts or precious metals.
Okay.
Understand the rules, understand the cultural context of what you're buying, and that will make your trip smoother and more meaningful. You'll connect more deeply with the places you visit.
Be informed, be prepared, be respectful. I like that. And remember, even if you can't bring home a physical object, you always bring home the memories, the experiences, the things you learned about other cultures.
Those are the souvenirs that truly last a lifetime.
So true.
Yeah.
And they don't take up any space in your luggage. Okay, before we move on to talking about precious metals, I want to go back to something we mentioned before, the UK's 50 years or older rule.
Oh, yeah. That's a perfect example of how a country's history influences their regulations.
Right. It's so interesting how they've drawn a line in the sand, so to speak, to protect things that represent important parts of their history.
Exactly. It shows that these rules aren't just random.
Right.
They reflect what's important to a country and how dedicated they are to preserving their cultural identity.
So even though the 50 years or older rule might seem a bit strict at first, it makes a lot of sense when you think about the UK's long history. They're just trying to protect the things that make up their unique heritage.
Exactly. It's recognizing that some objects have a cultural importance that goes beyond money.
Right.
They're a real link to the past, a way for future generations to connect with their history.
It's not just about owning something, it's about being a caretaker of it.
Hmm.
Okay, we focus a lot on cultural artifacts. What about precious metals?
Mm-hmm.
Is it any less complicated to bring home, say, a silver bracelet from Mexico or a gold ring from Italy?
It usually is. Most countries don't make it too hard to bring in precious metals for personal use. But there are still things you need to know.
Oh, okay. Tell me more. What do we need to keep in mind when bringing home those shiny treasures?
Well, the first thing is duty-free allowances.
Ah, yes.
Every country has limits on how much you can bring in without paying extra.
Okay.
And those limits can be different depending on where you are. So if you go over, you might get a surprise bill at customs.
So if I go a little crazy jewelry shopping in Dubai,
Uh-huh.
I could end up owing some taxes.
Yeah, it's possible. That's why you got to do your research beforehand. Knowing the duty-free rules for both the country you're visiting and your home country can really save you some trouble.
And some money.
And some money, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
duty-free allowances, got it. Is there anything else we should know about bringing precious metals home?
It's always smart to keep your receipts.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And any paperwork that proves your stuff is authentic and how much it's worth. It
Right.
can really help if customs has any questions.
Good tip. So it seems like being informed and prepared is key, just like with cultural artifacts.
Exactly. The more you know, the smoother things will go at customs.
Whether you're bringing home a piece of history or a sparkly new necklace.
Absolutely. A little
Okay.
preparation makes a big difference.
Okay, let's zoom out for a minute. We've talked about 9 different countries on like 4 different continents.
Wow, yeah.
And they all have different ways of handling customs. What surprised you the most?
Honestly, just how different they all are.
Yeah.
It's really cool how you can see a country's history and what they value in their customs regulations. Like the UK's 50 years or older rule shows how much they care about preserving their long history.
Yeah.
And Australia being so strict about Aboriginal artifacts shows how committed they are to protecting their Indigenous heritage.
It's amazing how those regulations give you a peek into what a country cares about. They're not just rules. They're like a reflection of their identity.
Totally. And that's what makes all this so fascinating to me. It's not just about the rules. It's about understanding where they come from, the culture behind them.
And it reminds us that traveling isn't just about going to different places.
Yeah.
It's about interacting with other cultures
Yeah.
in a way that's both respectful and responsible.
Absolutely. It's about appreciating the stories and histories that make these places so unique.
So if our listeners could only remember one thing from all of this, what would it be?
Be an informed and respectful traveler.
Okay.
Do your research, especially if you want to bring home something special like cultural artifacts or precious metals. Know the rules, understand the culture behind them, and you'll not only have a smoother trip, but a more meaningful one too.
I like that. Knowledge, respect, and a sense of adventure. Those are the ingredients for a really good trip.
Exactly. And you might even discover that the best things you bring home aren't objects at all, but the memories, the experiences, the things you learn about other cultures.
You're so right. And those are souvenirs that never get old or take up space in your suitcase. Now, I know we've been talking a lot about regulations and all that serious stuff, but I have a fun question for you.
Oh, good.
Imagine you could bring home anything from your travels.
Yeah.
No limits, no rules. What would be your dream souvenir?
Wow. That's a tough one. I think it would have to be something that tells a story, something that captures the essence of a place and time. Maybe like an ancient scroll filled with lost knowledge, or a piece of pottery that shows the skill of some ancient civilization.
I love that. Bringing home a piece of a culture's soul.
Yes, exactly. There's special connections that go beyond borders and time.
As you're planning your next trip, keep that question in mind. What will you bring back?
What treasure will you find?
And remember, sometimes the journey itself is the best treasure of all.
It really is.
All right, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of customs regulations for importing cultural artifacts and precious metals. We've learned how to navigate the rules, the stories behind these amazing objects, and how to be responsible travelers.
Hopefully we've inspired our listeners to go on their own adventures and collect stories and memories along the way.
And maybe, just maybe, your next souvenir will be a story that you can pass down for generations.
That would be amazing.
Before we go, don't forget to check out the show notes for links to all the resources we talked about today. Keep exploring the world of customs regulations and cultural heritage.
Yeah, and even if you don't bring home a physical thing, the memories you make, the experiences you have, those are treasures too, right?
Definitely.
They stay with you. They become part of your story.
Yeah,
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. What do you think? Ready to wrap this up?
I think so. I think we've given everyone a lot to think about when it comes to customs and,
Yeah.
finding those special souvenirs. We've traveled all over the world, from North America to Europe to Asia to South America.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Talking about all the ins and outs of importing cultural artifacts and precious metals.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope we've inspired our listeners to really appreciate cultural heritage
Me too.
and to be, responsible when they're out there looking for those unique treasures.
Yeah, it's not just about collecting objects, is it?
Right?
It's about collecting stories
Yeah.
and experiences and getting a deeper understanding of the cultures you're visiting.
So well said.
Oh,
Okay, so to everyone listening out there as you're packing your bags
yeah.
for your next big adventure,
Don't forget.
remember to pack your curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
your respect,
Absolutely.
and of course your knowledge of all those important customs regulations.
Bon voyage.
Happy travels, everyone, and may your journeys be filled with amazing discoveries.